Repeat after me. I am the reason why I've gotten as far as I have today. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. The gym has taught me so many lessons that I apply to my life, and these lessons have improved my mentality and therefore my life. I've learned a decent amount of lessons from the gym, so instead of chewing your ear off in one long video, I thought it would be better to chop these up into separate videos and maybe post every Sunday, because I feel like Sunday is a great day to, get yourself into the right headspace. And also with the new year coming up, I figured this is a great time to, kind of lock in mentally and assess how we can improve as individuals, both in the gym and outside the gym. So for today's episode, I wanted to talk about the power that you hold. You are your own greatest limiting factor. And I'm not saying that to try to gaslight you or to say that you have problems that the next person might not have that make your life a little bit more difficult. But within the realm of things that you can control, you are your own greatest limiting factor. So in the context of the gym, you'll often hear people, maybe even yourself, attribute things to their genetics, or work is too busy, and these are all things that are not really within your control. You can't control your genes, obviously, and your work schedule. I mean, most of us have a boss, right? So we can't really control that. Don't get me wrong, these things can definitely impact or even stunt your progress in the gym, but the way that we react to these things is completely within our control. One way that I've even gotten caught up in this is that I would often blame my squat progress or my plateau on my body weight. I was like, well, I'm only 135 pounds, so 315 is kind of almost impossible. And I know that's crazy to say because it's obviously not impossible. I've done it before. I've seen other women do it before. But up until that point, it was largely in my head that I'm like, oh, I'm so light, I can't really do this. The only way I was able to get to a 315 squat was to get out of my head and to stop telling myself, oh, this is, maybe we're just plateauing, maybe this is my peak as Alicia, a human so far. The only way I got to where I wanted to be was by persisting and believing in myself. I had to let go of that mentality of this is too much for my body weight. This is not within what I can do. This is not within my limits. It was all in my head. Here, the limiting factor was not at all my body weight, but rather just my mind and how I thought of the situation. That brings me to my second point, which is positive delusion. I know people always oh, let's be delulu, but actually it works. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of limitations are in your own head, and you can truly change your reality by the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you think of things. For example, before a heavy lift, I'll say something positive come on, you've got this, or it's just a bar, or stop making excuses. All these things are positive reaffirmations for myself that are right before I'm about to do something that I haven't done before, and it instills confidence within me. It's you know what, yeah, we actually do have this. What are we so nervous about? You know what I mean? And it's almost a little bit of mental self-gaslighting, to an extent, right? That's why I call it positive delusion, because it's keep telling yourself these things and they will come true. Reaffirming myself by saying you've got this or it's just a bar, it instills confidence in me. And also, who am I to doubt myself? The last thing you want to do before you go into a lift or before you do anything is to instill self-doubt. If I'm not going to be confident in myself, why would this happen, right? Actually, how could I go through with something if I'm not even sure I can do it? You know what I mean? I've applied this concept into other aspects of my life as well. I really like the phrase, if not me, then who? And I don't mean that in a narcissistic way, if I can't do it, nobody else can. I just mean, if I'm not going to have confidence in myself, then where else am I supposed to get the confidence to do what I need to do? It has to come from yourself, not from anybody else. No one or nothing else can build confidence within yourself other than you. And nothing builds confidence more than saying, I'm going to do something, or I am capable of doing something, and then executing that. And that's like I was saying, say before a squat, I've had this, you've got this, you know what you're doing. And then squat that, right? Don't even just squat it whatever, squat it with your full might, you know what I mean? And I think that applies to life too. It's with content creation, for example, I have a lot of self-doubt, and it's I really have to work around that. It's why would I have self-doubt? What is that doing for anybody other than just getting in the way and getting in my head? That's really the power of self-talk in the context of the gym. And I know that can translate over to life with like words of affirmation. I've never really been the type of person to look in the mirror and, say these things to myself like, you are worthy, you are capable. But when I do think of everything that I want to achieve and, like I catch myself being doubtful of myself, it's like, I am the reason why I've gotten as far as I have. So that in and of itself should instill confidence within you. Repeat after me. I am the reason why I've gotten as far as I have today. You got that? Okay. I have to remind myself that no one can really do the work for me on my behalf to get to where I want to be. And not only that, I am capable of doing all that I need to do to get to where I want to be. I know that we fear failing or putting all this time in and failing, but the only way we fail is by giving up. For example, if I just gave up on squats when I first failed 315, I would have failed 315 period, right? Because I never tried again. I would have failed entirely because I never conquered 315. But because I didn't stop and because I kept on going, 315 was not a failure. I ended up conquering it. And the only way to conquer it was to not give up. So you see what I mean? Like, it seems like a very obvious concept, but I don't think we fully recognize how much we allow difficulty to get in the way of where we want to be, because we'll often consider these difficulties as failures and an indication of what we're able and not able to do. But that difficulty is kind of where you have to push through and say, I'm going to keep showing up for myself because this is something that I said I was capable of doing, so let's do it. This mentality that I established in the gym has honestly taken me so far with content creation. While I absolutely do love content creation, it's not easy. You have to be okay with working really hard and achieving nothing in return for a long time. And what I mean by return isn't even like monetization, but just like bare engagement and interaction. It's not easy to establish and get the hang of things, and you definitely really have to have thick skin and be okay with failing or coming across difficulties and lack of engagement. You're seeing this video on YouTube right now. Even YouTube is difficult for me to be consistent with. But in the same way that 3-plate squat was absolutely incredible when I hit it because I didn't give up, I know that YouTube will be the same way for me as well one day, inshallah. The absolute only way to find out is to never give up. And that's really the bottom line that I'm trying to get at. I think this mentally requires you to reframe what it means to fail. Missing a 3-plate squat or not getting the engagement I want on my content isn't failing. It's simply a work in progress because I refuse to give up. And when you realize you're the only person in between where you are and where you want to be, it becomes a lot easier to refuse to give up. That's all I really have for today's episode. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or video suggestions, please make sure to leave those down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. See you next time. Bye! And don't get me wrong, these things can golly. And don't... What am I even trying to say? I also have to remind myself that no one... Content creation isn't by any